Today's exercise we're going to be going through, we're going to be using the TRX suspension trainer. We're going to be working with a back row to start off. Alright, Brian's going to be starting in the back row. We're going to be working the upper muscles of the back here, biceps, core work through it all. So Brian's going to start in a position here, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to have him walk his feet under him. What we're really looking for Brian to achieve is a nice straight positioning from ankle, knee, hips, through the spine and the neck. Brian's going to lower himself down, keeping a nice straight board all the way through. Sometimes people have a tendency to drop the hips as they get here because of a weak core. So we're going to have Brian tighten the core up, really brace that stomach musculature right there through the middle. Brian's going to pull himself up, thumbs coming to the armpits, and lowering himself back down. And what you see here is Brian is working all the way through a straight spine, hip, and lower body all the way through. A nice, good pace. As Brian comes up, you want to make sure that there's always tension in the bands. And as Brian comes down, you want to make sure that his body is nice and solid all the way through. This is a TRX back row, today's exercise. Now what we're going to do, today's exercise we're going to have with Brian, we're going to take Brian through a TRX suspension trainer push-up or chest press exercise. So what Brian's going to do, Brian's going to come, he's going to have the TRX in front of him here. Always want to make sure that we're keeping the arms a little higher than traditionally normal because we want to make sure that the bands here are not rubbing on his shoulders. So as Brian again is in a nice straight line, we can see a nice straight line from shoulder, spine, hip, knee, and ankle all the way down. Brian will lower his whole body together into the strap and then push back up, making sure he's using that chest musculature and the upper arm tricep as well. Brian's going to move his feet back under him to increase the difficulty of the exercise. And as he comes back down, really focusing on that chest and making sure the hips don't drop low as he goes. Excellent form, excellent technique, always making sure the band is nice and taut and tight coming through. Great chest exercise, ton of core work, stabilizing that midsection in the hip area as he goes through. You want to throw in one other, maybe?
Yeah.
Bicep or curl, or we can do bicep tries, might as well.
Why don't we do that? Yeah, try to make those about the same length. That was, each of those were approximately a minute, like a little over a minute each. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Today we're going to be working with the TRX suspension trainer. We're going to be working on the biceps. So we'll be working on the front or anterior region of the upper arm. So Brian's going to get into what looks a lot like a row position type of a situation on a setup. So what Brian again is going to do is he's going to have a nice straight alignment from the foot all the way through here. We're going to make sure the palms are facing him because he's going to be pulling himself forward. We want to keep the elbows nice and high, and this is going to prevent any movement that looks like a row. We want the elbow and the shoulder to stay aligned correctly. So as Brian lowers himself to the ground, you can see this line is still steady, and he's going to pull himself up. And the way we isolate the bicep is by keeping this line from elbow to shoulder nice and straight all the way through. Brian does a great job of keeping his hips in alignment with his knee, ankle, and spine. His hips aren't dropping, so this is really working everything in that bicep complex as he goes through. Again, nice, taut, tight band, and if Brian were to make it more difficult, he can always move his feet toward the base, and this gives a little bit more instability, more core work, and really targeting the biceps, keeping that elbow and shoulder in perfect alignment for the TRX bicep curl. Good.
Nice.
All right, good?
Yep.
All right, today's exercise we're going to put together for you is going to be the TRX suspension trainer tricep extension. So what we're going to be working here, similar setup to how we did the chest press. Brian's back is going to be to the base of the TRX facing forward. Come in, palms are going to be facing forward. And similar to the chest press position, good alignment through the legs, hip, and spine. And like the bicep curl, we want the elbow and the shoulder to be a straight line through. So what Brian's going to do is his hands are going to seem to come back towards his body, but it's actually his body going towards his hands. He's going to push down, isolating the triceps. When that elbow and shoulder are aligned together, we're isolating the tricep complex, and that's the only thing that's working. Good, solid core all the way through. The hips aren't falling down, putting strain on his back. Good core stabilizer. Great job through the tricep complex pushing up. To make it more difficult, we'll move his feet further out from under him, more body weight on the TRX as he goes, keeping his form good, keeping those elbows high, everything going through, focusing and targeting, isolating that tricep complex. Today's exercise, tricep extension on the TRX suspension trainer.